All right, welcome everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you, and welcome to my presentation today. My name is Stefa Ceasariano, and today I'm going to give you my presentation about the causes of classroom conflict. So now, let's get right into it. So before we, dive into it, we must talk about what we are going to talk about. What I'm going to present it in here. So here's a bit the outline, so have an idea what we are going to talk about and what I'm going to present that. So there's what is visible classroom, secret causes of classroom conflict, competitive atmosphere, intolerant atmosphere, poor communication, inappropriate emotional expression, lack of conflict resolution skills, misuse of power by the teachers, self-check for teachers, and building a visible classroom. And probably at the end, I'm going to give you my final thought or conclusion. So, without further ado, let's get right into it. The first thing is what is exactly a peaceable classroom? Before we start listing causes of conflict, let's take a moment to think. What does the ideal classroom look like? It's not just quiet, it's not just well behaved. A peaceable classroom is a warm, welcoming, and safe community. Students learn to cooperate rather than to compete. They practice communication, expressing themselves clearly and listening to others. There's tolerance, where difference are respected, not ridiculed. Emotional control is taught, not just and most importantly, conflict resolution is a skill, not a punishment. When that kind of environment is present, learning flows more freely. The classroom becomes not just a place of education, but a place of connection. Okay? So in here, the second one, the of six root causes of classroom conflict. So as you all know, there's many conflict, and here's the six root one. So if you think about it, so why are not all classroom peaceable? Well, there are six major reasons, like in here. Kind of like the feelings of classroom, the main feelings, the main monster, the main reason for why, classroom harmony is impossible or hard. This is the sixth root. These six root causes of conflict lurk behind the scenes, lurk behind all of you, lurk behind the classroom itself, like behind the students. Even probably it's mostly fights, disruptions, and probably silent grudges. They are first a competitive atmosphere where students are always trying to beat each other. As you know, well, it's normal to compete between each other. It might be a motivation to some of you. But yeah, well, it's still a root causes in a conflict in the classroom. The second is an intolerant atmosphere where cliques rule and difference divide, where students really emphasize on if you are different, then you must be an enemy, something like that. And the third one is poor communication, where misunderstandings exploded into bigger issues. So whether it's a little misunderstanding then becomes a bigger fight. And the fourth one is inappropriate emotional expression, where anger, emotion, sadness shows up as aggression. Okay? It is really, normal in the classroom that these things happen. And lastly, last but not least, the fifth one, a lack of conflict resolution skills, where students don't know how to fix problems peacefully. They're still students, maybe they're still childish, so don't know how to think calmly and, you know, still calm whatever the situation is. No, no, they don't know. So this is the six root cause of classroom conflict. And finally, the sixth one, okay, it's not, I think, but yeah, the final one is the sixth one, where the misuse of power by the teacher itself. So it doesn't come from the students always. It can also comes from the teacher, which can accidentally create conflict instead of solving it. So yeah, it's not just come from students, also can come from the students itself. Okay, and then let's go to the next one. Boom. Competitive atmosphere. Like I said before, let's dive into one by one. So let's start with competition. Now, healthy competition can be a good thing, like in games or debates. But when the entire classroom culture is based on ranking, grades, and who's the best, cooperation take a back seat, It's almost hard. It's almost impossible. Students start seeing each other not as partner, as rivals, as enemies to beat, So group work becomes a struggle because they have never learned to work together. So they think that they are always against each other, They have only learned to win. That's it. So trust breaks down. Students become anxious about losing or failing because their self-worth gets tied to performance. It's always about performance. You maybe your parents also encourage it. I don't know, but yeah, this is the one of the cause of problem. So instead of learning together, they are just trying to outshine each other. That's a recipe for resentment because they are trying to beat each other. So that's not completely bad, but that can be bad. That's why it's one of the root causes of classroom conflict. Let's go to the next slide. So, intolerant atmosphere. So, next up is intolerance. So, this usually happens when students or even teachers don't respect the difference in culture, personality, or background, or even learning your learning style or your speaking style or talking style. So, in an intolerant classroom, cliques and exclusion dominate. You will see the cool kids stick together while others are isolated or lonely. So it's like a subtle bullying. So this bullying might happen or usually happen, or and this can create a toxic environment, especially in a classroom where students feel like they don't belong into that group. This really usually really happen. It's normal. It's almost normal. And that sense of rejection between like, oh, I don't belong here, or I don't belong there, I don't belong in this group. This sense of rejection can lead to anger, sadness, and of course, conflict. So the physical classroom teaches appreciation for diversity, not punishment for it. So yeah, this is one of the root causes too. Anyway, let's go to the next one. All right, let's go to the poor communication. Poor communication, huh? Communication, or should I say the lack of it? So this the lack of communication is behind so many problems. Think about it. How often do fights happen because someone misunderstood what someone else said? So you might say that, oh, you make a mistake. You just want to correct the mistake, but the other person said it, like they get offended like that. They become misunderstood, by what you're intended to do. So students often haven't been taught how to express their feelings, needs, or frustrations. They don't feel safe sharing honestly, or they just don't know how. They also might not know how to listen, really listen to others. They just, they have their own pride, I guess. So even tiny misunderstanding can spiral and turn into big problems. So yes, without open communication, assumptions take over, and assumptions can be dangerous. Let's go to the next one. Yes, inappropriate emotional expression. Emotional expression. So yeah, as we know, every human, every person, every one of you, of course, has emotions, but not everyone knows how to handle them. In many classrooms, students haven't learned emotional intelligence. You usually learn it yourself, not at the classroom, to be honest. So when children, students don't know how to express feelings like anger or your stress in the healthy ways, it comes out as yelling, sarcasm, or even violence. Others might just shut down completely. And it's not just about big emotions like that. Sometimes it's just bottle up stuff, it's some pent up stuff, emotion. Maybe you have a kind of problem like sadness, embarrassment, anger, resentment, and then essentially explodes. So yeah, helping students name their emotion and manage them safely is a key preventing unnecessary conflict. So let's go to the next one. Lack of conflict resolution skills. All right, all right. So Let's be honest for a bit. How many of us were actually taught how to solve conflict as a kids? No, no, no. Me personally, no. But most students don't know how to apologize, how to compromise, or how to listen during an argument. They just copy what they see, monkey see, monkey do, like that. So yeah, they just copy what they see and do it on their own, like yelling, blame shifting, or just walking away and ignore everything. Sometimes even teachers forget that these are skills, not instinct. It's not an instinct. You must learn, how to manage it, how to solve conflict. It's not an instinct. So without these skills that you must learn, even a small disagreement can turn into major issues. It can explode into major issue, a bigger problem. So yeah, teaching conflict resolution can play a big role, and also one of the tools to solve this conflict. That's why it's become one of the roots that causes conflict in classroom. Anyway, let's go to the next one. Yep, self-check for teachers. So we are talking about teachers now. Yeah, or so I call it the misuse of power by the teacher. This one's tough, but true. Sometimes the teacher becomes the source of the conflict when rules are too rigid, when expectations are unfair, or when the teacher uses control instead of communication because it's convenient. So of course the students react with resistance, resentment, anger. I mean, it's normal, but we think it's normal for them to be like that, but it's also normal for us like teachers to do that also because it's convenient, to be honest. I think I have some experience as a teacher, and yeah, can be convenient but not the correct way to do it. So yeah, fear-based. A fear-based classroom may look quiet, but under the surface, under under your face, under the surface, students are boiling with frustration. So it becomes pent up and boiled up, and then it can explode. So yeah, you as a teacher, your power should be used to guide, to guide, to read, to lead your students, to guide your students, and to dominate. So if students feel powerless, they act, they might act just to reclaim some control. It's normal. Everyone wants to be free, and everyone hated to be told to. Be honest. Anyway, let's go to the next one. Building building a peaceable classroom. Building a Yeah, building a peaceable classroom. Sorry for that. So building a feasible classroom. Okay, so what can we actually do to make things better? Good news, there are real strategies you can use. The first is focus on group success, not just individual achievement. The second, teach students to use respectful words and listen during disagreement. The third is be a model of calm, emotionally regulated behavior, even when you are frustrated. The fourth one, use role play to let students practice solving problems. And five, and most importantly, share power. Give students choices. Let them contribute. Empower them. Don't control them. And that's how you build a peaceable classroom, one relationship at a time. That's how you succeed, how you manage out this classroom conflict, all of it. So anyway, that's it. So yeah, problem. So this is the example problem, the problem where I must how I solve it personally. So if during discussions and students in the back talk and or become annoying and annoying the others, shout out, silly answer, and play with various things, play with other students. My solution is of the problem is that first I can move the students. I can move to the students to the front or middle where they are more visible and less distracted. Or maybe the second is I will assign them more like a specific roles, their own roles during during class, during discussions. Like there's the note taker, or there's the time taker, or maybe the summarizer, and this can give them a responsibility and also focus back. And then maybe lastly, I will begin maybe a discussion, a clear discussion structure. So like only speak when holding discussion ball. So we toss out each other ball, and then the one that can talk the ball can talk. So only speak when you are holding the discussion ball or another object. You can use another object, not just ball. And this helps control outbursts. So each other can have turn to talk. And why I think this method works? I mean, students often act out when they feel unnoticed. So when they think that they don't have the attention, or mostly even bored. So yeah. So giving them this kind of responsibility can keep them, focused and engaged in my class, in the class. So let's go to the next problem. I have three problem anyway. All right, the second problem. All right. Basically, Stefano, this students, his particular students, constantly talks, pisses, and challenges the teacher with sarcasm. Okay, a problem children, huh? A problem children. Yeah, 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 yeah. Problem students. We in this class, in many class, you have one of this in many class. To be honest, is not really rare. So yeah. So anyway, the problem is Stefano is being annoying to the teachers and being disrespectful. So how do I manage to solve the problem? My problem is private conference and structured place. So first, I will have a one-on-one conversation with the student, with Stefano, calmly and respectful, of course, and let him know that his behavior is, affect the class, affecting the class, affecting the discussion, affecting me too. Also, I will acknowledge his strengths. Like his confidence, his humor, his bravery. I will also acknowledge and praise him. And then I will set a clear behavior expectation and involve him in creating a behavior goal. For example, if you do this, we'll give you this. If you do this kind of thing, I will give you more, you know, more freedom. And then I can give a positive reinforcement. So when he behave well, I will give a positive reply like, "Oh, I appreciate how you stay focused today, Zefano. I really appreciate how you become a good student. Look at Zefano; he's really good student." Something like that. And I also provide maybe a short, simple task where he can, like helping with materials or starting group work instruction, because he's really brave and confident, and he has humor too. So I think that also suit him, that kind of thing. So why I think this works is because students like Stefano, like this, annoying, destructive students, often seek attention or control. So this kind of method or structure, well, I become respectful structure and positive attention to him, reduce the need for negative behavior. Right? This is the last problem. Boom. The problem three, or the last problem. Okay. So basically, the teasing in here has escalated to yelling, solving, and constant conflict. So basically, it becomes a fight. So how do I solve it? Well, personally, I will do maybe I will start a class meeting to reset expectation for respectful behavior. So together, we create a list of our class agreements, more like rules, to be honest. But yeah, you know what I mean. And then I will introduce weekly conflict resolution circles. So students take turns in a circle, sharing their feeling and listening without interrupting. And then I will teach simple emotional vocabulary like, "Oh, I do this because or I feel upset when or I don't like this because So instead of shouting, just teach them a simple emotional vocabulary and talk loudly. Like Like I give them the resolution circles before. And then I will also monitor them closely and intervene early if teasing begins and pause the lesson, whatever it is, and address it firmly but still calmly. Right? That's my methods and why I think this works. So first, consistency. Because consistency, shared rules, and emotional awareness reduce conflict. So students can feel heard, which okay, of course, they also feel relaxed and will lower tension if I give them more attention, if I give them shared rules, if I give them more freedom like that. So yeah, it can reduce conflict. So anyway, that's it. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Anyway, hmm, so for all of this, I think yeah. So let's wrap this up. So yeah, conflict is natural. We are human. I mean, we are human. We all have emotions, something like that. We have our own personality, so we feel and we mess up. We can mess up too. But the goal isn't to eliminate conflict, is also to manage it wisely. So when classrooms are rooted in trust, respect, and emotional safety, students don't just become better learners, they also become a better people. So peaceful classrooms aren't accidents, they're intentional, built with empathy, reflection, and lots of patience. So let's start building together. And that's it, my final thought. So I hope thank you. I mean, I hope you got something from me. So I hope this becomes useful for you too. So anyway, thanks for all of you. Thanks for your attention. I'm sorry if I made any mistake and also apologize if I offended your feelings and if any of my work offended your feelings. So anyway, that's it for me. Thank you everyone and see you next time. Bye.